Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Dialogue. I'm Taimur, Shamil. Pakistan has been striving for peace and stability in the region, and yesterday by releasing and handing over Wing Commander Abhinandan to the Indian Air Force and the Indian authorities was a gesture shown by Prime Minister Imran Khan, by Pakistan, all the political parties in Pakistan, and this was a unanimous decision. This speaks volumes about Pakistan's efforts for peace, Pakistan's gesture for peace, because we want peace and stability in the region, because we know that we have been fighting extremism and terrorism successfully, and we have been avoiding war. But as our army chief also said, that Pakistan wants peace and stability, but we would give a befitting response to any misadventure from the Indian side. Pakistan actually also responded to that misadventure when the two MiG-21s were shot down by the Pakistani Air Force. Wing Commander Abhinandan was also caught and he was in Pakistani custody, but he was kept in Pakistani custody with pure professionalism by the armed forces of Pakistan. He was calm, he was sipping tea, because we made him feel comfortable in the Pakistani custody. We made him realize that Pakistan doesn't want war, but we know how to defend ourselves. This is not just what Pakistan has been discussing. Many people in India, many politicians, for that matter, social media in India have been discussing how Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi, has used this whole situation for petty domestic politics. We know that BJP, the whole world knows this, that BJP, RSS and Shiv Sena, they go for their vote bank by fanning the anti-Pakistan sentiment. Anti-Pakistan sentiment is something that actually benefits them. We'll watch a clip of an Indian politician who talks about how Narendra Modi has used this situation for his own political gains, how BJP is using it. It is very interesting to also note that this formula is very sad to see. This is very interesting, that there is a political party which can put the existence of India at stake every now and then, but just for mere political gains. We'll look at the video and then we'll start our discussion on this topic.
You tell us who's winning the elections of 2019. Forget your politician hat. Based on the numbers as you see them at the moment, who's winning 2019?
You seem to see two hats. I don't see any. I am in politics and I believe politics can be truthful as well. I think it's important to say two things first. Number one, anything that can be counted is not necessarily a game. The topic we are discussing, it's important in newsy to say who's going to win, what's going to happen. But for heaven's sake, this is not a horse race. What is at stake is nothing short of the future of this country. It's not an ordinary election. If 1977 was about deciding whether India will remain democratic or not, this election is about deciding whether India will remain India or not. That is what is at stake. So I would like us to not treat it as a horse race. Something much deeper is at stake here.
That's a political statement now.
Call it anything.
You made the statement of a politician. I'm asking you your statement.
This is a statement of a citizen who's worried about the future of this country. Yes, you can call it politics, but I do believe politics is one of the finest activities in this world. On what is likely to happen, my answer is very simple. If this election goes by its fundamentals, in economy you say fundamentals are good, fundamentals are bad. If this election is played out on its fundamentals, it's definitely tilted against the BJP. That is to say, if you were to go by economy, of which we have more evidence this morning, if you go by agriculture, if you go by employment, if you go by all these basic figures, then this election is tilted heavily against the BJP. BJP would lose at least 100 seats from where it was in 2014, which is to say, baseline figure is BJP around 180 or so, give or take 10 or 15 or 20. What we do not know right now is the impact of Pulwama, Balakot, and so on. I don't think we have evidence to assess the impact. And that's the last thing I want to say, which is that at the moment, while all of us sitting here are counting, we are like cashiers sitting in a bank who are counting notes, while a daylight robbery is taking place at the front gate. This is one of the most brazen attempts to rob democracy of its electoral mandate. What we are witnessing is one of the worst attempts to use war as a means to win elections, to use national security as a petty political game. I'm in no position to say whether it will succeed or not. But as citizens, this is one thing we must take note of. This is one of the most brazen attempts made in India ever to use war as a means of winning elections.
This person that you saw on the screen was not a Pakistani. He was an Indian, renowned Indian politician who was saying that what happened, this incident, was a brazen attempt to rob democracy and to win elections back in India. This is what BJP has been doing. BJP won the elections, previous elections, and they promised that they would improve the economy, agriculture, and many other things. They couldn't do that. So at this moment, this was very feasible. This was ideal situation for BJP and the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi to go for war. And Pakistan didn't respond with war. Rather, Pakistan gave a befitting response and captured the pilot and returned the pilot to the Indian authorities. This was our way of telling the world that we stand for peace. We are joined by a special guest in the studios. Our first guest is Dr. Sheryar Khan. He's an expert on Pakistan's foreign policy and international relations. Welcome to the show, Dr. Sheryar. Our second guest is Brigadier Ihsan Shah, renowned senior defense analyst and expert on Pakistan's national security and counterterrorism. Sir, welcome to the show. Dr. Sheryar, this video that we just saw, Yogendra Yadav is a renowned Indian politician. This is what the Indians are saying at the moment. And about Narendra Modi, about BJP, how do you see this whole situation that is going on in India at the moment?
Well, there is evidence that the Modi government may use war or rhetoric of war for domestic political mileage, and this is what even the Indian politicians are saying. And they believe that since the BJP government has failed to deliver on many counts and they lost elections in 5 state elections, so they now believe that they may start a war with Pakistan or a skirmish with Pakistan, with which they could probably play on the emotions of the people, and maybe it's even they are doubting it would be even a question on democracy in India, because using war for winning the election. But I think that's the political side or domestic side of it, and I want to look at this issue from 3 different perspectives if you look at it. One is, of course, the strategic way, and India tried to create a new normal with Pakistan, that whenever they doubt that there is some incident which can be linked to Pakistan or a group in Pakistan, so they would come and attack it. The way the United States is doing, has done through drone strikes. So this was a kind of a new normal that they were creating, which was denied to them, by Pakistan, and quite swiftly Pakistan responded, and they now see that they cannot do it maybe again. And that is the denial of that new normal. So strategically, it's a loss to them. On the other hand, if you look at it from diplomatic side, so Pakistan also, I think, diplomatically outwitted India, because Pakistan yesterday it released that captured pilot, and it as a peace gesture, and this is what even the international community appreciated. Even within India, people appreciated it.
That is what they were asking for. Release
Abhinav. If you couldn't do it, if you delayed it, probably the Modi government would have used it as an excuse to further escalate the situation. So we denied that as well. So diplomatically, it's also a win for Pakistan. But coming to the political aspect of it, I think India and the politics between India and Pakistan going to remain the same. India would still put political pressure on Pakistan. It would still continue its diplomatic isolation drive that it has started, which is in itself, I think, self-defeating. They have not done it before. They can't do it before, because Pakistan is a big country. It has a huge strategic significance. People are already investing here. Pakistan is providing the diplomatic support to United States and Taliban to have a peace agreement. So they have failed there already. They cannot achieve that. I think it's a wild goose chase, and maybe it's for their public consumption again. And I'll come to the international aspect. I think international community has played its role now because Pakistan had done this outreach to them, and especially the United States played its role to de-escalate the situation. And this one step, I think it's also maybe it was one of those confidence building measures or that peace gesture that Pakistan should show to further de-escalate this situation, because things can go out of control if this action and reaction goes on for long.
Right, and Brigadier Shah, experts are of the view that India might have been spending a lot on its military. They have the military force, but Pakistan's military power is absolute and it's great. And winning a war depends on the military power, which is to say that using your resources intelligently. Do you see it that way, the way Pakistan responded to the Indian aggression, and still we are responding to it? And by the way, just to add to what I'm saying, today two Pakistan Army soldiers embraced martyrdom at Nakyal sector, and the aggression continues from the LOC.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I think when you talk of the military power, it is not only the soldiers on ground. There are so many other factors which are counted. And in that, first of all, you see the cause, for which cause you are fighting. That is very important. Now, if Pakistan and Indian soldiers are confronted, all of them or both of them will ask each other what you are fighting for. Pakistan is fighting for a just cause to defend their homeland. Where this is not the case with Narendra Modi.
So
their soldier, the
morale
matters a lot. If you ask me what is the ratio of morale and the number of troops, I will say the morale factor is much more than number. This is number one. Number two, then training. Pakistan Army is fighting in an actual war for the last more than 10 years. You see, then the experience which has been gained by that involvement and training, and then superiority of equipment. Pakistan has much more superior equipment than the Indian. Most of the arms on the inventory of India is Russian origins, where on Pakistan side it is most of them the F-16 or this and that. You see, it is much advanced inventory which we have.
Right.
So all of these things are, then these are counted towards the victory or the loss. This is number one. And number two, I must tell you that Modi has given a wrong side to this dilemma and confronting each other, because he has brought an issue which he himself has created. The voices which are there inside India, some of them we heard just now, and recently a tape has been, I was hearing it on radio, right, that the son of a retired army officer has publicized an audio call between Rajnath and Amit Shah. Rajnath is the interior minister in India, and they are saying to each other that invest some money so that we should go for war, because we need something, we need some courses, we need some bodies, we need some bags for winning the election which are coming.
And sir, by the way, just recently Amit Shah in a rally literally asked for votes, because he said that, look what BJP is doing with Pakistan, you know.
Yes.
And we should be given more votes in the coming election. So this is what they are expecting.
No, I am coming to a third reference which you used, that recently at night there was an exchange of fire on Nakyal sector, and there one of Havaldar and one Sipa Naik have embraced Shahadat. But Pakistan does not want war. Pakistan does not need bags, because oozing of blood on both sides, which is here or there, it is of humanity, and we condemn that, whether we are doing it, whether India is doing it. But then you see who is doing it for what. We are retaliating, they are escalating, and this escalatory ladder, they went wrong. They did it there, you see. Yes,
and
yes.
what you just said earlier, that this whole political thing has an impact on the psyche of the military as well,
Yes.
the military of Indian military.
Yes, and these soldiers, I was hearing on from many channels, the Indian soldiers have started asking what we are fighting for. Their officers have started asking what we are fighting for. Pakistan army is in need of standing their ground, and inshallah you will see if the result comes, if the war is imposed, you will see the result will be different. And in these 2-3 days, the result is there.
Result is there, absolutely. And the way we shot their 2 MiG-21s and captured the Indian Air Force pilot, wing commander of the Indian Air Force. Mr. Sheryar, Dr. Sheryar, this whole situation and the way Indian media was covering the whole incident is rather sad to see. We didn't see journalism. We rather saw jingoism from the Indian side, and it actually looked like that Indian media has become the mouthpiece of BJP, RSS and Shiv Sena. So there was absolutely warmongering from the Indian side. The defense analysts and all those people, comparing that with the Pakistani side, how would you evaluate that?
Well, you know, the India played typically as a propaganda tool or a mouthpiece of the BJP government, and I think that's really sad, because India is a democracy supposedly, and its media should be independent. And if it's an independent media, then why it is following the government line, and why it is doing propaganda? I think that jingoism that created, I think it was all planned. It's not that they were doing it on their own. They had got that policy line from the BJP government that you should create a frenzy, a war in Syria. So then we would say, okay, there is a pressure on the government, we have to take some action. I think that was very immature-ish, and these journalists who are, you know, cheering war, I think they won't be there then, you know, to wage a war or to be part of the war, to fight a war. They won't be there. So what they are doing is they are pushing two countries into a war, just maybe because of the rating, just maybe because, you know, their government is telling them, the BJP government is telling them. I think that's really sad. On the other hand, what Pakistani media did, I think that the narrative from the Pakistani side was very clear from the start, that we don't want to have a war. We want to have a peace. Pakistan had already offered them peace initiatives. Pakistan had opened Kartarpur corridor as a goodwill gesture. So Pakistan, for the last few months, is trying its hard to create some kind of a communication line, diplomatic channel with India to discuss all these outstanding issues. But India is not doing that. On the other hand,
right, we'll continue our show after this break. Stay with us. Welcome back. Pakistan repatriated the Indian wing commander Abhinandan, and today Pakistani Shakirullah, who was killed in the Indian jail, his dead body was handed over to Pakistan. Now we have to see the equation. We have to see what Pakistan stands for, that is peace, and also the venom from the Indian side that we just saw, that Shakirullah's body was handed over to the Pakistani authorities at the Wagah border. Brigadier Shah, these optics and Pakistani gesture for peace and the venom that we see from the Indian side, what do we say about this? What do you talk about this?
I think the extremism and the negativity and the attitude which we are seeing, just we have seen the reflection of that. The world should take notice of it, and they should see the attitude of both the nations and the leaders also. There was a war prisoner and he was with us, and we have shown to the world publicly through media that how gracefully we conducted him. We kept all the norms and we conducted him more than what the Geneva Convention is asking for. Here was another case, and he was in jail, and there was some argument taking place after the Pulwama incident, and the mob, the jailers who were the fellow jailers with him, the issue was being discussed and they started beating him, and then they dragged him and started stoning him, and the situation came to this edge that he was taken to the hospital, and today he was found dead, and the body, and they are thinking that we are giving a gesture to Pakistani nation because they have sent our Abhinandan, the wing commander, and we are giving them the dead body. But I think the world should take notice of it. They should see what is the disparity and what is the non-equation in the attitude of both the countries.
Both countries, and Dr. Sheryar, these optics, what we saw, what the Indian authorities did with Shakirullah, this is sheer disrespect to humanity, I would say, to the moral standards that we as human beings stand for.
If you look at the whole scenario which is going on between India and Pakistan for the last few days, and if you look at the narrative or the story that we are telling to the world, I think, and if then you look at the international press, I believe that the perception that Pakistan has created or the narrative that we are portraying, I think it is getting widespread appreciation throughout the world because of the moral high ground that we have. The first moral high ground, that you deserve the right of self-defense, and Pakistan was only exercising the right of self-defense. The second thing, Pakistan always say at the highest forum that we want peace with India, we don't want war with India. The third is, as a peaceful gesture, we handed over their pilot to them with respect. So this also created, a positive image of Pakistan outside. Strategically also speaking, the world also saw that Pakistan is able to defend itself when there is an aggression. So nobody picked the Indian fake story that, they had shot down some of our planes. The whole world press, they picked up the story which we showed because we could provide evidence for that. And the living pilot was a living example of that incident. We also showed the wreckage of the plane. So the story of the Pakistan, which was a true story, it got accepted. The world appreciated. Pakistan is still appreciating. On the other hand, the whole thing backfired on India. Now this image, maybe the Indian government is not involved in it, but the perception that it creates, that is, I think, what people see, that we are sending them, their pilot with respect, they're sending us, a dead body of our inmate there. So I think people don't read it as, we can read it or others can read it, because maybe the government is not involved there. But the reading is that Pakistan has now a moral high ground, and I think Pakistan should also not succumb to pressure. I think when we were discussing the media, there is some segment in Pakistani media as well which was putting pressure on the government. If you can recall, after the first day, that why didn't we shot down their plane? Then there was an explanation for that, and when it happened, so everything was relaxed then. But again, when we are handing over them, there are some segments in our media as well who are not appreciating government's move that we should have handed over. But generally consensus is this, that we should have done it because it created a goodwill gesture. I think the media should be, at the moment, on the both sides. It should not be cheering war. It should be responsible and do responsible journalism and not jingoism.
We didn't let BJP play their anti-Pakistan card primarily. And this is also what all the opposition parties in India, they have absolutely criticized BJP for using this whole situation for their petty political gains. Brigadier Shah, after this Pulwama incident, it all started after Pulwama. What happened in Pulwama? Adil Dar was a Kashmiri who was from occupied Kashmir, Indian occupied Kashmir. He reacted to the abuse of the Indian troops, reasserting the Kashmir issue. Don't you think that this is the time that the world should also recognize Kashmir as a problem, and also that Narendra Modi, the Indian Prime Minister, he has internationalized the Kashmir issue after this whole thing?
I think it is now the time that world should come to know that Kashmir is a real issue. It is a real issue, and it's a flashpoint between two nuclear states, number one. Number two, Kashmir is more than 70,000 Kashmiris have given their blood, rather it is exceeding 80,000. And now you see 7 lakhs, more than 7 lakhs of the Indian troops are there in the occupied Kashmir. And after 89, the problem was there also, the uprising in the valley was there also. But after 89, it is a popular movement. It is a movement for independence. It is an intifada. The Kashmiri youth, the Kashmiri children, the Kashmiri women, everyone inside Kashmir has risen against the brutalities, and they want independence. They do not want. How far India will keep them under their guns and deny them their human rights? Now the world should come to know. And voice is inside. Mehbooba Mufti, who was the chief minister, Abdullah, Farooq Abdullah, then his son Umar Abdullah, Arundhati Rai, all those people in BJP and Congress, you are seeing the Indian themselves are divided now, and they are saying that you have not given the rights to the people of Kashmir. It is not an issue between India and Pakistan. It is an issue in humanity. You are keeping a segment of humanity under the gun, and you are denying them the right of independence.
And two more things, that India is trying to change the demographics of Kashmir, and
They are
also the
changing.
status of Kashmiris and
Yes.
the status of Kashmir.
Yes.
That is also being
demo-
criticized by Mehbooba Mufti, as you said earlier,
Yes.
and Farooq Abdullah, Umar Abdullah, and many
Yes,
of the Kashmiris for
everybody.
that matter.
Everybody.
Violence will always beget violence. You know, this BJP's policies to use so much violence and force against the Kashmiri movement, and when they were protesting peacefully, I think it forced them, you know, to take up arms against the violence, because how can you respond to the violence then? So that's
Exactly, these are the questions that they are left with no other option. Burhan Wani and Adil Dar, for that matter, Burhan's brother was killed by the Indian troops, and there are so many thousands of people that you just
let
mentioned.
me tell you that why Adil was not sent by Pakistan. It is the Indian attitude. Who told the Indian colonel to tie a Kashmiri as a human shield with his jeep? And who told the Indians that Adil Wani, while he was coming from the college back to home, he should be dragged and he should be asked to draw lines with his nose and say, I am sorry, I will not do it again? Who was Burhan Wani? These are all the negativity of India which are creating the problem in Kashmir. They are denying their rights. It is not Pakistan. How Pakistan can ask more than so many lakhs and the segment of so many people to rise against a government inside Kashmir? This is the issue which they have created themselves, and the world is keeping their eyes closed. Pakistan should not think that India will come to their terms. We need to stand very strongly even now against India and tell them the real problem is not which you are telling to the world that it is terrorism. The real problem is the right of self-determination.
Determination, and the way international media, Dr. Sheryar, covered this whole issue of Pulwama and what happened afterwards. New York Times, Washington Post, Wall Street Journal, and I can name all the Western media outlets. They were discussing that India now has to focus on what is happening in Kashmir and
Yes.
stop the suppression, aggression, and atrocities in Kashmir.
There was an article in Washington Post as well, you know, it was saying that, you know, it's actually the issue is Kashmir. If you look at,
New
you know,
York Times and Reuters, for that matter, all were reporting the same.
But you know, the international media, which should, in the start of the events, when India infiltrated inside Pakistan, the media did not condemn it, or there was nothing like that. But when we responded after that, they realized that the situation is serious. And after that, when we showed this gesture, so we got a positive review from there. I think the international media is now picking up, you know, whenever there is reporting that why India and Pakistan, there's a tension at the border, why there is infiltration, then they would look at what is causing it. And when they research, they find out that it's the Kashmir issue, which is brewing, you know, for the last 70 years, and nobody's taking action. Yes, it is internationalized, but unfortunately, India has established such huge relation, strategic relation and economic relation with the world powers, that they are silent on the issue. Now we know the United Nations has a report on the human rights violation there. We know United Nations resolutions are there of self-determination. But why they are not being enforced? Why the whole world is not forcing India? Because India has successfully maybe forged alliances with those countries, and that's why their economy. But it doesn't mean Pakistan has no option. It doesn't mean, my point is, it doesn't mean Pakistan has no option. Well, Pakistan can always, and I think for the United Nations report was one of the achievement of Pakistan, because Pakistan is flagging this issue at every forum, and Pakistan should do it aggressively at all times, so they can draw the attention of the world to this issue, that this is an unresolved issue like the Palestinian issue for the last 70 years.
And this time, interestingly, it has been discussed.
Yes, I was surprised to see the agenda of the OIC, and I could not find the Kashmir issue on their agenda. The core issues which were there, it was Palestine and the problems in the Middle East. And I think it is failure on the part of Pakistan that we have not been able to even convince OIC that Kashmir is a real problem.
So, but there was this technical thing. Technical thing was, and this is what also the foreign minister said, that we raised up this issue that if Sushma Swaraj would be attending the OIC 46th session, Pakistan won't attend, and Pakistan didn't. Sushma Swaraj was she was extended the invitation before Pulwama.
Yes.
So OIC was of the view that since we extended the invitation, now we cannot withdraw. So Pakistan did. Now the issue is that still OIC knows, we all know, the world knows what they are doing in Kashmir. And there was one more thing that Pakistan said, that UAE basically invited Sushma. It is against the rules of OIC that other members of OIC were not consulted before extending the invitation to Sushma. In that case, you are right that why did they invite Sushma? But Pakistan's stance, I think, was very clear on this.
Let me put our own house in order. That why Kashmir issue has not been raised to the level which is required to be raised.
We have been raising it on, on the sidelines of UNGA
I
as well.
think Pakistan need now very aggressively to send their emissaries to the world capitals, and the capitals which matter. We must reflect and we must publicize and convince the world that Pakistan has no problem with India. It is only Kashmir, and Kashmir is not a territorial problem. Kashmir is the problem of humanity, and humanity is being denied their self-determination. If that is solved, Pakistan and India are friends. We have nothing to quarrel with. We are only raising our voice for the self-determination of the Kashmiris, and we will go to war only if it is imposed on us.
Right. Dr. Sheryar, your last comments on this whole incident. And we repatriated Wing Commander Abhinandan, and they have handed us the dead body of Shakirullah.
I think Pakistan has so far kept its upper hand strategically, diplomatically, and Pakistan should continue to diffuse this tension diplomatically. It should involve all the countries, especially the major powers, to diffuse this situation, and I think that would be our win.
Right. Dr. Sheryar, thank you for joining us. Pleasure having you on the show. Brigadier Ihsan, thank you for your time. Pleasure having you on the show. Pakistan stands for peace and stability, and Pakistan has been striving for peace and stability with our neighbors. Pakistan has successfully fought terrorist organizations inside Pakistan, and Pakistan is a much stable and peaceful place now. We also saw that any external aggression would also see a befitting response from the Pakistani side. We just saw that in the recent incident. 2 MiG-21s were shot down. The Indian pilot was captured by the Pakistani forces. He was kept in the Pakistani custody. He was sipping tea. He was calm. That was because we made him feel comfortable in the Pakistani custody. That speaks volumes about Pakistani professionalism, the professionalism of the armed forces. But at the same time, we didn't see that India is reciprocating any gesture from the Pakistani side, any peace gesture. Pakistan wants peace, but we also have a very clear message for our neighbors, for the Indians especially, that any befitting response, any misadventure from the Indian side would be given a befitting response from the Pakistani side. Thank you for watching today's show. See you next time. Khuda Hafiz.